Kent Obermann is the founder of Tooth Zone Network, a pediatric dentistry enterprise that grew to include locations in Fort Collins, Loveland, and Longmont, and had as many as 60 employees. Kent founded the practice in 1982, fresh out of dental school and into practice, with a high-rate loan from, quote, Vinny the Loan Shark, after banks turned him down. Kent sold the business in 2017 after 35 years of creating and maintaining children's smiles across the Northern Front Range, and their mission continues today. Tooth Zone was founded to confront an assumption of the day, that one can have a high-touch, relationship-driven dental practice, or one can have a highly profitable dental practice, but you couldn't have both. An entrepreneur from an early age, Kent details some of his early blunders in business, how a consultant helped him to turn his fortunes around, and what they did with training and team engagement to ensure the dual mandate of providing amazing service in a high-volume practice. In his later years, Kent became a highly sought-after consultant and speaker, and has been a keynote for the largest dental conventions in the nation. Kent is also a founding member and band leader for the Blues Dogs, a Northern Colorado favorite 10-member brass party band, and a founding member of Mr. Smith, which is a lockdown-driven collaboration band of the best Northern Colorado musicians who couldn't stand to stay locked in their basements for too long. All kinds of good stuff in this one, a wonderful conversation with an inspiring entrepreneur and a kindred spirit, whom I only barely just met before this conversation. So please enjoy my conversation with Kent Obermann.
Let's have some fun.
Welcome to the Loco Experience Podcast. On this show, you'll get to know business and community leaders from all around Northern Colorado and beyond. Our guests share their stories, business stories, life stories, stories of triumph and of tragedy, and through it all, you'll be inspired and entertained. These conversations are real and raw, and no topics are off limits. So pop in a breath mint and get ready to meet our latest guest. Welcome back to the Loco Experience Podcast. This is your host, Kurt Baer, and I'm here today with Kent Obermann. And Kent is the founder of Tooth Zone Network, which is a pediatric dental operation, and also a musician, a band member of the Blues Dogs, as well as Mr. Smith, his quote-unquote COVID band. Yeah. So let's just start with, if you would just describe Tooth Zone Network to me, maybe as it is today, when you left, kind of that scene a little bit.
The Tooth Zone Network, I started it when I got into pediatric dentistry. One of the things was we got to make this fun for kids. This isn't about getting dentistry done. This
don't try to be the scariest place you can.
Yeah. In 1982, we moved here and at a practice, and I bought. I was out wandering around, and I thought, what is it that kids really enjoy? Then they had Chuck E. Cheese. You remember that with the video games and stuff?
Sure.
So I said, I bet they'd dig that. So I went out and bought a 3 full-size video games and put them in the waiting room. And we had big parties. For years, we had Halloween parties. 1,500 kids would show up.
Yeah. We
would take the whole mall over. I'd rent them all. And big gymnasiums and stuff. And our thing was, Tooth Zone is where dentistry and fun collide.
Yeah. Did people age out? Like after kids get to be 10 or 12, if they don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, then you're like, out of here, kid? Or...
most of the kids, because of the relationships that we developed, most of the kids stuck. I had kids coming from college. I had married people. Finally, I said, look, if you bring your own kid, you got to quit. You can't. I can't see you if you keep. You can't. You and your daughter can't be seen at the same time. But we were blessed in the sense that my philosophy has always been about relationships. That's what sells everything.
Yeah.
It's not the product. You got to have a good product.
Yeah.
But it's the relationships.
Well, and your industry has a whole bunch of tooth fixers, and not necessarily an abundance of business-oriented, kind of relationship-oriented people. Although they certainly want to serve, that isn't necessarily what wires most of them.
That's the skill sets that it takes to be a really great dentist.
Yeah.
Typically are not the skill sets that it takes to be very personable and all that. You're a scientist. You love working with your hands. All of that sort of stuff. Sort of like being a head pastor. Most head pastors aren't great people persons because they like to sit in a place and prepare a sermon for 3 days. I would go crazy. You would go crazy.
Yeah, I like to
There's no
say,
way you could do that.
People take my when I'm an MC and stuff. I'm like, they take my lack of preparation as slapstick and like, oh, how's he get so clever and come up with those things on the fly? Well, because I haven't prepared at all, and nor do I want to. Really.
Right. And that's kind of been my style too. I think we're very similar in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are lots and lots of great dentists in this town. But my attitude was always, I'm going to do what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I think is best, and I really don't care what anybody else does.
Yeah.
I literally have never even been in anybody else's office in the whole town.
Really?
I don't go visit dentists.
Are you friends with dentists?
No.
Really?
No.
They're too boring for you.
You can count them on one hand. and again, great people.
Sure.
Just, I'm a musician. I'm eclectic. I'm the guy that spent more time in the dean's office in dental school than they did on the clinic for sometimes. Because I was always asking too many questions. They were always, what is he doing here? Who let him in? That kind of a thing. And I think that's one of the reasons my style was different.
Fair. What, like when you left Tucson, what was the scale of the operation? Did you grow into a big practice with lots of young dentists and things like that?
We had 3 locations, 4 doctors, 60 staff.
Wow.
Yeah, we were a big operation. We were in Greeley, had 2 operations here. We were very large.
You had a large market share in the kids' teeth.
Right. It was very complex. And like I was telling Alma, she's your right hand. Barb Ashley was the key to our success.
Yeah.
Because she filled every hole that I had, and I have tons of holes. I'm like a sieve.
Swiss cheese, baby.
That's right.
Well, I would love to kind of talk about that journey because obviously you didn't start with 3 locations and 60 people and all these things, but we like to jump in the time machine and go back to where you even come from. But before we do, though, talk to me about the Blues Dogs and Mr. Smith just a little bit so we can flash forward to what we're going to talk about in the music genre later.
Blues Dogs, 10-piece band, full horn section. We've opened for Kenny Wayne Shepherd and Buddy Guy and George Thorogood, Winona Judge.
Cool.
We do national festivals, big stuff.
Yeah,
we're mostly doctors, dentists, lawyers, that kind of people. We don't want to play more than about 8 or 10 times a year, which because we all have lives. We have kids and grandkids.
So if there's a craft brew festival or something like that, well, maybe you...
Yeah, something big.
But we're 10 people, so remember, and we're not really... We're not in it for the money.
We don't do bars. We don't need the money.
Right.
We want to be paid because it honors us.
Yeah.
But that's not the most important thing. What's most important is that we entertain.
I might have something for you. I want to do a 3rd annual fundraiser for the Matthews House this year.
Oh, I love Matt. Jerry and those guys.
Yeah, sure.
Love those guys.
I did a backyard thing in April 21, and then last year.
We're in.
Do you like the Brothers Fountain? Do you ever play with those guys?
I have played with those guys.
Okay,
downtown.
so they're my headline. So
yeah, they were raising money.
Oh yeah, the 24-hour
thing. Yeah,
awesome.
I was part of
that.
I was there.
They let me sing because I don't play, but I got to sing a couple tunes and give JJ a break because he and I have basically the same voice, which is awesome for singing along.
What an eclectic duo they are.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
They're really cool.
They're coming on for the 2nd time at the end of January, actually.
Okay.
So they'll be back on the pod again soon.
Really cool dudes. So the Blues Dog's been around for a long time, 20-some years. And same core guys, but people come and go. Right now, it seems like every time we lose somebody, I go, oh, we'll never replace him or her. And
then you get an upgrade.
Every time it gets better. And
without offense to any of those people that left.
No, I'm stunned about. We have my daughter is our lead female singer, and she had some throat surgery and was gone for a few months. And the other lady that came in, AJ,
is way better than
is
Megan.
A pro. Yeah. No, she's not, but she's a pro, and she's really good at what she does. But the first month she was there, every practice she would go, where did you get these guys?
Right. And how many times a year do you guys practice?
This is a machine, because everybody reads just about, and they're a machine. Mr. Smith, when COVID hit, I lasted 20 days without music.
Right.
And I called the best drummer I knew and said, "Are you playing?" And he said, "No, I got 2 guys hiding in the basement." Okay. I called it the best guitar players I knew and the best bass player. And everybody that I called was like, "No, my bands aren't playing."
You found the libertarians
but
among
I am. But I am.
That also happen to be the best
That's right.
musicians.
So I said, "Do you want to come over on Monday and just drink beer and play?"
Yeah.
And it was like heroin junkies getting together, getting a fix, And so we came over and played. At the end of that, Ricky said, the drummer, "Can we do this again next week?" And I said, "Yeah." So at the end of the second week, Ricky, who's the crazy guy, he's the drummer, he's just nuts. He's so much fun, it's scary. You shouldn't have that much fun playing drums. He said, "Why don't we play off your balcony? I have a 2nd-story studio down to your big
courtyard,
your big driveway.
Yeah.
And see who shows up." I said, "Well, it's COVID. Nobody's going to show up." He said, "We'll see." We had 35 people show up.
I love it.
Then we just started playing out on the balcony.
Okay, where is this? What part of the geography?
South west, over by Kathy Fromm, by the junior college.
Yeah.
Applewood Estates. We all have a couple acres, so we're not packed in. And
crowd of 35 isn't too dangerous, really.
So Ricky dubbed us the COVID Romeos because we played off the balcony. And I said, "That's kind of not the way it is," because it was Juliet. It was on the, And so I was hiring all the bands down in Loveland. I hired 165 bands down there. We hired 12 bands every week, even during COVID. Every Saturday, I hired 12 bands for outdoor venues.
Okay.
We kept all of Loveland open. Loveland became the music center of Northern Colorado by far.
Yeah, well, there wasn't anything happening.
And they said, no.
Man, Washington's finally lifted their COVID vaccine mandate.
Yeah. It's like, I can't play
Thanks,
there.
guys. You're only 8 months late.
That's right. So they said, "Why don't we hire us?" And I said, "We're not a band. We're a bunch of guys that drink beer on Monday nights." And they said, "Well, we could be a band."
Yeah.
So you guys want to be a band? And they said, "Yeah, let's be a band." And they said, "We're pretty good." And I said, "Well, we ought to be pretty good. We're the best guys out of 5 best bands in Northern Colorado. Yeah. If we're not good, nobody's going to be good." So we call it, and I was listening to a song on the way over called "Mr. Smith and His Band of Renown" by Delbert McClinton.
Yeah.
And I said, "How about Mr. Smith?" And they went, "Okay." That was it.
Boom.
Invented.
Jill and I wanted to go to Delbert McClinton when he was nearby some years ago. We never did. Is he still playing?
Yeah, I was it 4 years ago? I was the concierge for all the main acts for 18 years over at the Greeley Blues Festival.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Delbert was one of my guys.
So your fingers are as sticky with music as they are with teeth in some ways.
Yeah. I blues rock kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you get into other genres, not so much.
Okay.
Because you only got so much time in your life, and when you got grandkids and 60 staff members, and you got to kind of say, this is my lane.
Yeah, you can't do everything. Well, let's jump in that time machine now.
Yeah.
And you got here in 1982 or something, but where'd you grow up? How'd you come to Path?
Burlington, Iowa.
Okay. Where in Iowa?
Southeast corner, right on the river.
Okay.
From my house, if you had a really good arm, you could hit the river in 2 baseball throws.
My wife lived in Port Byron. Is that like north, farther upriver or something? The Quad Cities.
Oh, yeah. It's 60 miles.
Okay.
They're in our conference, the Little 10.
Okay, yep.
Bettendorf, Moline, East Moline, Rock Island, Davenport,
So,
Davenport West.
I haven't spent much time around there. I've been up around Decorah and stuff where the motorcycle riding is really good.
Okay, yeah. So raised there, my mom was one of 13.
Whoa!
Everybody farmed. So
where did you? Your mom was one of 13.
My mom was one of 13.
Okay.
So
wow.
All summers and everything I spent.
Everybody needed help.
Being handed around and baling hay, and and it was a great way to grow up.
Yeah.
You worked really hard, but you got to go swimming and in the ponds and do all that crazy Iowa farm kid crap, even though I was a city slicker.
Yeah. Well, it's a good opportunity to get a little bit of farm in you. It's a big advantage, I'd like to think,
Oh, it is. At the time, it didn't feel that way.
Right.
All the time. But, if you got a job to do, you don't quit till it's done.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're hurt. Doesn't matter. Rub dirt on it. Let's go.
What was your family dynamic then? Was your mom a homemaker? Did she work?
No,
was your dad
Mom
professional?
Mom worked at a factory. Dad
Okay.
was an alcoholic and not mean, weird, just
not really worth too much.
Just not around all the time.
Yeah.
And he was a salesman, and he was successful at that. I mean, he wasn't like he was one of those functionals.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. At least somewhat. But
yeah.
It doesn't sound like he was much of a husband or.
Well, he was.
Dad,
he did the best he could. I mean, if you look at his background, his dad was not an alcoholic, but he was that 1930s and 40s farmer, cold, stone, got stuff to do. Don't hug me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But no, I was raised that way. The upside is it made me tough. Yeah. It made me independent. I've been running my own show since I was
probably had a lot to do with forming Tooth Zone and stuff.
Well, it did. I mean, I've been running my own show since I was 10. I've literally never worked for anybody.
Wow.
I've always had my own lawn mowing service or whatever.
And siblings too? Do you have brothers, sisters?
I have one brother who lives here in town. He's my harmonica player. He's a dentist also.
Yeah, I saw his boy there.
He's a fabulous harmonica player. And you couldn't be more opposite of him and me. Yeah, philosophically, religiously, everything.
Interesting.
My sister was one of the heads of the Girl Scouts in southeastern Iowa.
Oh,
there's 3 of us, and so and she still lives there.
Okay, cool. So, tell me about like your place in the high school, in the middle school. Were you one of the smart kids? I'm guessing you were a funny guy. You were mowing lawns and this and that, obviously already. So
I was. I think my high school experience was never really. I was in the crack because I was really good at everything I did. Just about. I was the captain of the football team, captain of the wrestling team, captain of the track team, first chair all-state base, blah 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 blah. But yet I was on this side of the city, raised with all the black kids and the poor kids. And you've heard of living on the other side of the tracks.
Yeah.
You have to go to a long way from where I lived to get to the other side of the tracks.
Fair.
Okay. And there's again, I'm not complaining. It made me who I am.
Well, you were blessed, right? Like you were
amen.
Gifted by nature and your mother's care and all these different things to feel like you could be the captain of the football team and a star wrestler.
Right, because we had choices to make. We could either go down that path and follow that, or we could aspire to be more.
Yeah.
And all 3 of us kids aspired to be more. I think maybe I led the way a little bit. I don't think they'd admit that.
Were you the oldest of the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not uncommon necessarily.
Yeah, and I'm the one that always pissed everybody off because it was like, I'm not me. I'm Kent's little brother.
Right. Yeah. Fair. Yeah.
Because I make a big splash.
Make a big shadow.
Yeah. And so, grew up, went to junior college. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Had no idea what I wanted to do with my life.
Just close by somewhere or whatever.
Yeah. It's just Vietnam. I thought, well, I better go to school. Fortunately, to number 289, so I didn't have to go anyway. And then went to Northwest Missouri State.
Okay.
Where I turned my life around. I had really great teachers there that said, you're not stupid. You just don't know how to study. Nobody's ever told you were smart.
You never had to study, really.
You're right. And so if you'll let us help you, we think we can make something of you. And I said, well, so do it.
I'm not doing anything else with my life.
And
interesting.
Did not get into dental school the first time. Got into dental school the second time at the University of Iowa, where I wanted to go. In fact, the only place I even applied.
Yeah. Were you working through college a little bit and stuff too?
I worked full time in the factory.
That's what I wondered. Time. Yeah, it seems like a family that you're.
Yeah, I worked 3 to 11.
So right after class, get out, then come home, bed by midnight.
So I could get over. Worked at the Hush Puppy plant, tanning hides.
Oh, interesting. Because they had quite a shoe industry up in that region, and even Red Wing up the river a ways and different things. That was quite a. Even still is really. There's a few manufacturers.
I don't think Hush Puppies around anymore.
I doubt it. Yeah, if they are, they're made in China.
But again, it was one of those things that it made me do time management, and it taught me things because of necessity. And you talk to people and you go, oh man, that must have been really hard. No, it's what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. It just, if I was going to do this, I needed to do that.
Yeah.
There were no options.
And doing hard things is kind of, don't do hard, dumb things.
Well,
but do hard, beneficial things, because that's how you carve a life out, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. You aren't scooping hog crap for 12 hours a day. Working in a hush puppy factory and going to college is pretty easy.
Yeah, right. Right.
When you're working on a farm.
Yeah. That's kind of what I thought when I first got here to Fort Collins, and I'm a young banker and, had, kind of an inferiority complex going into college and stuff, because I came from very rural areas and stuff. But people were like, wow, you work so hard, you get so much done. I'm like, shit, I've been coasting ever since I started college, kind of.
Yeah.
It took me a while to acclimate and understand that I actually could succeed. But then by the time I got to the working world, it was like, oh, a lot of people don't work hard. And a lot of it's because they don't know where they're going.
Right. If you don't, that's why I think going right into college, if you don't know what you want to do, sometimes is devastating, because you just screw around because you don't really have a path. And then you see kids that come back and they go, oh, now I know what I want. And they just kill it.
Right.
Where before they were getting D's and F's and drunk.
If you're focused on something, then
boom,
easier. Yeah, for sure.
I think the biggest thing for me was I never really got over, and I think it's still there a little bit, the, poor Iowa farm kid, you're really not good enough.
Yeah.
You've been bullshitting your way through life, your whole life, and someday somebody's going to catch on. And so literally, a lot of my success was driven by fear.
Well, a little bit of shame even for how much you've been blessed. I don't know if you're, maybe not, I don't know. This is getting into the faith section almost, but I had a lot of shame because I was kind of, the smart kid that got good grades and was okay at sports and different things. And I felt guilty about having all those blessings when I knew that I was a terrible sinner too.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
That part didn't come to me till I was like 27.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I was raised in a Christian home, but quite frankly, the way I was raised and stuff, they're both believers, but it was just I didn't get the family dynamic because Dad was always gone. By the time he stopped drinking, and he did.
He did. Okay, I was
just
going to ask that.
He's turned it all around. But I was in high school.
Okay.
And by that time, the relationship was never really started very well.
Yeah.
And then I went to college and stuff. But I always had that, the dean's going to walk in someday and go, you don't belong here.
Interesting.
Get the hell out.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of a good poke to work hard.
No, it made me successful because I was, but it was fear driven, and that's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that your impetus.
Yeah.
Is fear driven and not I want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, after a while, you do start to trust yourself and to believe in yourself because you're saying, man, after 15 years of this,
right, I must not be a total poser.
Yes, it's right. Some of it's real,
Yeah.
And then you hook up and get married to someone like my wife, and it's like, dude, I scored.
Right, right. I must be one of the good
ones. That's right. Because she's not stupid.
She's no dummy.
Because she's not stupid, and I did that.
That's fair. Yeah. I like that.
Of course, I did catch her at a bad day, but
well, you probably had to work on her for a little bit. So, is she on the picture at this point in time in college?
She came in junior year of my of dentistry.
Okay.
And she was a nurse.
Yep.
So she put me through school those last few years financially.
Yeah.
And then went to residency program in Memphis. I did my the University of Iowa dental school, and then I went to University of Tennessee, and that was another life-changing moment for me in that I got involved down there with a church and with people. I was a believer at that point, but.
And was your wife from a faith background?
Yes, yes, yeah. But I'd never really seen it work.
Yeah.
There's always this Iowa religion thing where you just don't screw up much where people can see you,
right.
And I
wasn't, don't really talk about
right. I was kind of like God's greatest undercover agent. All through college, my friends were like, he's so weird. He doesn't do all the stupid stuff we do, but he's just no fun. He just studies all the time because I was always worried about it. And then I moved to Memphis and met Vance Cartwright was my assistant department head, and he was this whacked out Jesus freak, Golden Gloves, national Golden Gloves champion.
Oh, cool.
Just the coolest dude ever. And he showed me that you don't need to hide this. You can wear this right there.
I like it.
And if they don't like it, tough.
Yeah. That's cool. Hey, tell me about meeting. What's your wife's name?
Debbie.
Tell me about connecting with her. Was it love at first sight?
No. Well, no, I don't think so. For her, for sure not. I'm Scotch. I'm an acquired taste.
Right. I'm sure there's more than a people that have been. Who is that guy at a party or something? Right.
Well, I go to parties now and they go, "Why'd that lady bring her uncle?" She should have brought her husband. Who's the old guy?
Right.
But we met at a church camp, a college kind of church camp thing, where it's a 1-day deal. We came in, did some worship and stuff, and she was talking to some guy kind of up on this rise, and my buddy came over and said, "You need to meet this chick." I said, "Okay, where?" He's up here, so we walked up, and he interrupted him right in the middle of a conversation. Can't Debbie, and he left, and I'm like, I am so sorry.
And is the other dude still there?
He's standing right there in the middle of a conversation. I'm going, I'm so sorry. He's an idiot. This was not my idea.
Right.
And he said, "No, we're done. Debbie, good to see you." Gave her a hug and walked off. And we talked for 2 hours, about life and stuff. And our first interactions were more just complaining about the church and the way they handled things and all of that. And that's kind of what brought us together.
Yeah.
And then we grew into really good friends. And a couple years later, I finally, got her in a weak moment.
Right.
And
so Memphis is where you kind of finished after Texas.
That's where I did. Yeah. I went to Iowa.
Or Tennessee, rather.
Yeah, and then I went to Memphis, is University of Tennessee.
Oh, no.
So I graduated University of Tennessee, and I've never been on their campus.
Okay.
In Knoxville. It's 11 hours away, across the state. But it's right downtown on Beale Street. It's just a beautiful campus and stuff.
And were you a musician already in these days?
I've always sang.
Okay.
Singing's my thing.
Yeah.
And
you play your instruments so that they let you sing.
Yeah. I learned to play a little guitar just so I could impress you with my voice. But I was in third grade. The music teacher stopped the class and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Singing." She goes, "What are you singing?" "I don't know." And she said, "You're singing harmony. Why are you singing harmony?" And I said, I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea I was singing harmony
without even knowing what that was.
I stood next to Uncle Lloyd in church. Uncle Lloyd was a tenor.
Mm-hmm.
I only heard tenor. So whatever you sang, I sang a fifth or a third above it. Huh. I didn't know I was singing harmony. So I was raised in an a cappella church.
Yeah.
And so I've always been a singer all the way through high school. Like I said, had the leads in the plays and all that junk. And didn't sing at all the way through dental school, not in choir, not in anything, because I was scared to death I was going to flunk out. And all I did was study. Moved here to town and sang in church.
Okay.
Led worship and stuff. And then put a flyer in the bulletin, a little thing in the bulletin, and said, "Hey, if you've ever been in a band, want to be in a band, thought about being in a band, come to my house on Sunday afternoon." And I had like 15 guys show up.
Oh, wow.
And that's the start of the Blues Dogs.
Oh,
that
wow.
was 25, 28 years ago.
Oh, how cool is that? That's so you have got no formal singing training except for like being in choir for most of your school.
I was
years,
a music major for a year.
Oh, you were? Okay.
And then I figured out you really got to know what you're doing, and I don't.
Right.
I'm just a singer.
And
right. I'm just a singer. And in fact, I tell people that they say, rock and roll man. They say, "You're a musician." I say, "No, I'm not. Right. I'm a singer."
That's interesting.
That's different.
That is very different.
Yeah, the guys, what key is it in? whatever they're playing. I
right.
don't
I
know.
just match up to the thing
That's
that
right.
they're doing.
Whatever they play, I sing.
I grew up driving a tractor, right? And so from like 1987 to 1993, top 40 on country and top 40 on rock and roll.
knew it
I
all.
can sing all of those.
Yeah.
And that gives me a decent range. If you can sing most of that shit,
That's right. That's right. You're a singer.
I'm a singer.
Yeah, you can sing.
I got a guitar, and I've been thinking about trying to play because it's lame to have an old white guy that just sings.
Yeah.
You got to have it.
Yeah, you can't stand up at a bar and
I'm
just
thinking
sing.
about getting just a harmonica. Maybe then I could be in a band. And
But
be
you can't sing and
I can't
play
sing
harmonica.
lead. Right,
Because
exactly.
you got a thing in your mouth.
Right, so I can play harmonica when somebody else sings.
Right.
But that's lame. I should be the lead singer because I'm the best singer.
Well, you're the star.
Right. Anyway,
Let's face it, it's all about you.
I digress. Isn't it about everybody the same way?
So I tell the band, dudes, you're just here to back me up.
So what church is this with all these undercover musicians at the time?
This was Crossroads.
Okay, yep.
Down there.
Yep. Down almost like between Loveland and Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Almost
Actually, at the time, we were meeting at the high school.
Oh, right.
Still, we hadn't built the new building yet.
Yeah. One of my least successful food trucking events was at Crossroads, like Fall Festival. Would have been the fall of 2015, I think.
Oh.
I was loaded for bear. I have one big event before I packed it down for the winter.
And
everybody already ate or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, the previous year they had all these crowds and stuff, and it was actually a pretty good event. But then this year they stuck us all like off in the corner away from all the stuff so they wouldn't have all the crowd stuff. And it was like everybody forgot about us. And,
yeah, church events are
it's tricky.
They're pretty hit or miss.
I had leftover pulled pork for a lot of months after that. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
We got shut down one year. My band opened for the men's group at 7:45 in the morning at Thompson Valley High School. The cops showed up to shut us down.
Like noise
because we're too loud.
Complaints.
And the pastor was like, "Yes,
perfect.
The men's group got shut down. The cops showed up."
So you get this Blues Dogs thing going. Where was Tooth Zone already a thing by that time? Did you move here, bought some video games? We can get back onto that story almost. Or was that your first professional experience, kind of?
Yeah. And again, I just stole from everybody else. McDonald's had tubes, so when I built the new office, I put a two-story curlicue slide in the middle of the waiting room. I had tubes that went through the office that you could crawl through.
Was this your first? Like, let's talk about the first office. I mean, I assume you didn't have like a whole bunch of money because you hadn't had a job except for papers and stuff your whole life. Like, talk to me about like getting into.
Well, I came
business.
Here, and banks wouldn't. I show up. You're a banker.
Yeah, I was.
When's the last dentist showed up with a 24-page marketing plan? Blah, 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 and how he's going to grow his practice, and especially in 1982.
Right.
Never happened.
Never happened.
And they went, no. I need money to buy the practice. I need money. They wouldn't do it, so I went to Vito Corleone down in Denver.
Okay.
And
literally Vito Corleone?
Well, that wasn't his name,
but
I think he was his cousin.
Average loan shark.
It was his cousin.
Unnamed.
And then about a year later, because I doubled the practice every 4 months.
Whoa.
Because there's only Bill Davis was here, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
So I came in, Steve Pauly came in.
And how did you land here? Did you like...
I was literally wanting to go to Ohio because it's halfway between my family and her family.
Okay.
And it's Midwest, although the Buckeye thing about choked me. I said, okay, I'll live next to a Buckeye, but I'll never become one because I'm a Hawkeye. And the door it kept slamming shut.
Yeah.
And the Smiths group hired me as a big medical group, and they're going to pay me an enormous amount of money to do nothing. And I was like, yes. And I moved, and the state
to be
board,
a pediatric dentist for them or whatever.
Yeah, right in their big hospital thing. And I thought, what a great way to start. I'm making six figures back when nobody made six figures.
I think I made 4,000 when I first moved to Fort Collins in 1999.
And this was just sweet. It had like 3 chairs. I ran more than that in dental school. And the state board said, well, you got to take boards over. I said, no, I don't. I got reciprocity. It says right here. Yeah. And they said, well, no, we changed that.
And you're like, why?
You have to take state boards. And I said, no. So I read I did my research, and I said, did you announce that you changed it in these 4 newspapers and on these 2 radio stations like it says you have to? And they said, well, no. And I said, then give me my license. They said, well, to do that, we're going to have to call the state government back together and vote on it. And I said, that sounds like a personal issue.
Right.
I want my license.
Your problem, not mine.
They called them back together. They voted. They had to give me my license because they screwed up.
Right.
But they also read the law, and a dentist cannot work for a physician.
Oh.
So I have my license, but I'm fired. And the other 2 guys, the endodontist and neurosurgery, are fired too.
So they couldn't set up like a different corporation or something, or at least not fast enough to figure it out?
So we said, the 3 of us, let's buy a building across the street. Smith Clinic will support us. We don't care.
Right.
And so we did. We found a building, and then we got to looking at it. There wasn't enough room for me. And I said, okay, no big deal. I'll just go find my own thing. I found a fire.
And you're like 24, 5 years old or something?
29.
29. I guess it takes a long-ass time to get through dental school. Huh?
Yeah, 29, 30. And I said, I want that fire station because I can do something with that fire station. But I only pay this much. And Lord, if it's not there for this much money, it's all I can afford, then this isn't for us. And it wasn't.
Huh.
I had nowhere to go.
You wanted the kids to be able to go down the fireman's pole.
Oh, I had all sorts. My mind was going nuts. It had nothing to do with dentistry. It was all the cool stuff I could do. And so I came back, and I said, I don't have a place to work. I was sitting in the break room. I had 4 weeks left in school. Wife was pregnant, going to have a kid in 4 weeks. And I'm thumbing through one of the journals, Fort Collins, Loveland, Colorado, practice for sale.
Oh.
So I called the broker, Jim Burke, and I said, Jim, he said, tell me about yourself. So I did, and he said, and he said, well, you're not a Longmont kind of guy. And I said, I don't know what that means. He said, you're not a Longmont kind of guy. You're a Fort Collins kind of guy. Yeah. I can tell by talking to you.
Right. They're going to think you're too weird in Longmont.
I said, but dude, there's no practice for sale in Fort Collins. He said, yes, there is. The guy owns 2 practices, one in Longmont, one in Fort Collins. He's killing both of them.
Huh.
Make him an offer on this one.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up here.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we flew out here. Megan was born.
Like God's providence sometimes.
Oh, no. And then I get a phone call from my brother.
Okay.
I go out, negotiate the practice, buy it. I haven't moved out yet. My brother calls me, and he's one of my best friends in the whole wide world. And he says, so what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I said, I'm moving to Fort Collins, Colorado, I think. And we're out looking at a practice. He said, when are you going to go look at it? I said, no, 2 weeks on the Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, crazy, man. He said, I'm looking at a practice in Greeley on the same day. So my best bud, harmonica player, fellow singer, moves 35 miles away, far enough that he doesn't bug me,
right?
But close enough he can come over and practice.
I like it. I love it. Was he going to the same dental track with you too?
Yes. Well, he wasn't a pediatric dentist. He was a general dentist.
Sure.
So
okay.
I was 4 years older. I was 4 years ahead of him.
Oh, but
we
it
were
takes
graduating in the same
extra education on the little kid teeth stuff, right?
But we're graduating at the same time.
How crazy is that?
Oh, God's providence. As I look back on my life, it's frightening how many times that he stepped in. Well, it's not frightening, it's delightful, I guess. He stepped in and made things happen. Yeah. And then, a lot of times I thought of it. And then you look back and go, no, you didn't. Right. Yeah. You had nothing to do with this.
Having a few of those times happen and being able to recognize it changes the way that everything else in the world is.
It is, because when you recognize that he's sovereign, that he has control of every part of my life, whether I want to admit it or not. I'm the one messing this up, not him.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm the one kicking and screaming, kicking against the pricks, saying, no, how come you can't do it my way, Yeah. And that's why I think looking forward in life, now I'm 70.
Are you really?
Yeah. When you look forward in life now, the frightening part for me is not me. I mean, I know where I'm going when I croak.
Yeah.
I got that handled. Okay. I just look at my grandkids. I look at this younger generation.
Yeah.
And the mountains.
The level of purposelessness and just angst over who am I and what is my place in the universe.
The questions they're forced to deal with at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right.
That I didn't think about till I was 30.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, back in Iowa, I really didn't know black and white because I was raised on the black side of town with all my friends were all 8 black kids in the whole town. Okay, there's
right. But you're friends with most.
And we all played football together, and they were my buddies.
Right.
And I didn't in dental school. We had 2 black kids.
Did you feel like there was racism in Iowa?
No,
not hardly.
No. I mean,
I didn't feel like there really was in North Dakota either.
People talk different.
Sure.
I mean, they'd drop the N-word and all that, but it wasn't a racial thing. It was a word.
Yeah.
It was just a word.
Yeah,
I'm not putting you down. It's just a word that came out of my mouth. So get over it. And they did. It was no big deal. Where now everything is hurtful.
Yeah.
Everybody's, looking for a reason to be offended. Instead of back then, you kind of went, you look for a reason not to be offended.
Right.
You tried not to be upset.
If I think about all the gay jokes that we said back in the day and stuff, oh my God, like that would get you like totally voted off the island in today's world.
And when you got a loose mouth like I have, oh my God, there's times you just went, did I just say that?
I'd like to one of my favorite quotes is just because I said something doesn't mean I mean it.
That's right.
I'm just floating it out there, just testing the waters. Somebody might think
my
that.
daughter will walk over to me on stage sometimes and go, "You can't say stuff like that." Really? She goes, "It's not funny." Really? I thought it was hilarious.
A lot of people laughing.
Yeah, look at all the old people.
Some people left.
Yeah, that's right. And they were all young. All the old people are laughing.
All the little snowflakes are melting out of the room.
So all of us old farts think it's funnier than heck,
Anyway, we're going to make the snowflakes mad, and they're going to stop listening. They don't listen to my podcast anyway.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, like, the growing of a practice, right? Like, you bought this practice. Was it just you and, like, a helper? Or was there a couple of employees already?
It was me.
Just you?
And there was 3 dental assistants, 2 office people.
Okay, so you bought a pretty,
not
like super established, but it wasn't big, but it had clients.
I was driving, and I knew, I mean, being an entrepreneur, you learn some stuff.
Right.
Okay, and when I was a senior in high school, my dad and I owned a truck stop.
Oh.
So I'm probably the only senior in high school that actually owned a truck stop. And so I was responsible for stuff that high school kids don't. When I ran track, I said, I'll come run at noon. I'll practice at noon, but I got to go run a truck stop after work, after school. He'll let me, I can get off for the meets, and I held the school record in 2 events, but I can't practice because I have to work. Okay. So I came into dentistry, and the first thing I did was I called everybody in and I said, "You're all fired."
Oh, wow.
And they went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you're all fired." Now, I'm going to be taking applications starting tomorrow morning, and I would really suggest that you guys, be
apply.
The first
Yeah,
guy, because I needed to establish that I was the boss, new sheriff, new things are going to happen.
Different expectations.
I was a horrible boss. You could have put a revolving door in the back so people didn't get hit in the butt on their way out. That's how often I was turning people over because I was an idiot. I was like,
you were a bad boss, and I was
a terrible boss. I was
most
like every other dental student who just graduated. I know
practice.
Everything in the whole wide world because
and you people are students because you're not a dentist.
30 and scared, and I'm going to put my turban on and wave my sword around and act really cool. And then I met a guy named Mike Schuster. Actually, first, my brother and I both hired. He had a practice in Greeley. A consultant that came in, and the consultant sat down with our staffs, and he said, "You can have a a high producing practice, or you can have one that is well organized and blah 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 blah. And it's like, what?
I don't want any of those things.
What are you talking about? Well, you can't have both. I looked at my brother, and my brother looked at him and said, "You have no idea who you're talking to. He will do whatever he wants, I'm going to have a high-producing practice, and I'm also going to have a high-touch practice. There's no reason you can't have both." And then I met Mike Schuster, who turned my life around. He was a consultant out of Phoenix, and his basic premise was there's 104 things that you have to have screwed together, or you can't run a business.
Okay.
And here's what they are. And I'd say, okay, well, what are the answers? He said, it's not for me to answer them. You have to answer for you. There are no answers except your answers. And most people wouldn't take the hundreds of hours it took to go through each one of those and figure all those out, so that,
man, you were selling an experience before that was 20 years before its time in some ways, or before it was recognized.
It was.
When I left banking and wanted to start a restaurant and stuff, I was really focused on the experience, because that was kind of fresh and new, kind of thinking that way. You were freaking 1982 thinking
well,
that
I'm
way.
a Walters Demings guy.
I don't know what that means.
Walters Demings was a CPA from North Dakota.
Oh.
Who went to a GM and Ford and all of them and said, here's how you make better cars. And they said, bye. He went to Toyota. That's why Toyota is who they are.
Really?
Walters Deming went in and said, if you don't want things to if you want things to be better, you can't get a pin with a tolerance of 0.06 that you'll take.
Yeah.
Every pin needs to be 0.02 or you don't take it.
Yeah.
And then nothing breaks. And so you have to have every single step of every single procedure completely written out and honed out.
And known.
When I sat down to do a procedure, I did this, and the right instrument was in my hand, because I did everything exactly the same. If I didn't need the instrument, I still took it and handed it back, because I did not want them getting out of rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fascinating.
So we could see 100 kids a day.
Wow.
And still have time to go hang out with the parents. Still have time to talk about sports and stuff with each kid, because the dentistry wasn't the most. It was taken care of. We didn't have to worry about doing the dentistry.
Right. That was muscle memory.
That
almost.
was nothing. That was like, just get through this so we can spend 4 more minutes talking about football. And that's what made us successful, was because the staff was so well organized.
Yeah.
And so well trained. And everyone got treated the same every time. So that when you brought your kid in, you had a great experience. You told your friend, oh, yeah, you should go to see Ken. He's awesome.
Right.
And
she
shows up,
come in and have the same
and it's a
great
super
experience.
busy day, and she gets treated like crap because we're too busy to do. No.
Right.
It's got to be consistency and continuity were my 2 words.
Interesting.
It has to be consistent, and it has to go across the board.
So I think you mentioned that was it Schuster?
Michael Schuster.
Mike?
Yeah.
Did he consult with your brother as well?
No. Greg was not one. He's very expensive.
He's old school.
Well, it was very expensive. So Greg kind of just watched over my shoulder. And
he implemented some things.
He stole half.
Right.
And
Sorry,
he was
Mike.
he was a fabulous general dentist.
Right.
And then I lost a couple of dentists, and I was like, man, I'm in trouble because I can't run 3 clinics. And Greg said, well, I'll step up. I'll help you. So he came over and worked for me.
Your place is kind of more fun anyway.
And he said, I'm having more fun. I'm making more money working for you. I'm going to sell my practice. Can I work for you?
Yeah.
So last 5 years of his practice, he worked for me.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
The truth is like that's what people pay for, not just your clients, but your employees too. Like part of what they're here for is for the experience of being a part of this journey. And it's a lot more fun at Tooth Zone Network than it is at, whatever.
Well, you need to
Greeley Dental.
You need to be part of. Everybody wants to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason those of us that are believers, we're part of something much bigger than us.
Yeah.
We're just a little bitty cog in a whole great big machine of believers, all headed towards His glory. Okay, so we only work 3.5 days a week. That's all I ever worked.
All you did, or all anybody?
Anybody.
Really?
They all got paid for 5. They worked 3.5. Okay, I took everybody and their spouses to Mexico for a week every year. On me, they got paid while they were there. Okay, I had no turnover.
Right.
Hardly
after
any.
Those first.
Hardly.
Like, was it just a switch after Mike got in there? Did it take a couple years for you to learn?
It took about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
For me to get that tipping point.
Yeah.
I used to teach business management nationally.
Oh, really?
I have a whole talk on the tipping point.
Oh.
But once you get the tipping point.
I didn't know you had these creds.
Yeah. One year I spoke in front of 75% of every pediatric dentist in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
On business management. So I have a whole talk on the tipping point that once you get it this way towards the positive,
yeah,
it's really hard to get it to go bad, because a bad person comes to work for you, they can't stand it.
Right. They self-select. They're like, I don't fit in here.
No. Either that or the other staff, the female staff members come and say, get that chick out of here.
Right.
And I'd consult with guys who were like this.
Yeah.
And I'd go, you're in trouble. You can't hire enough good people to do this because they won't stay. Mm. So you're going to have to turn 70% of your staff over. And most of them weren't willing to do that. Oh, right. She's the best person I got.
She's been with me for 5 years.
Yeah, no, she's not the
best person. Well,
it's
because she can't really get a better job, because you're such a lousy boss that if she could get a better job, she would have did it.
Well, and that's part. I actually
being a good boss is a big part of keeping people.
15 years into what I was doing, I hired Dave Holland. Dave is a pastor at Vineyard, ex-pastor. And I said, I have 60 people. I can't keep track of all these women. I can't serve them right. I don't know what their needs are. I don't have enough hours in the day to take them to lunch. And so your full-time job is to go meet with everybody and figure out what it is we need to do to serve their families better. And it was awesome. Plus, he mentored me too. Yeah. Because I was, it's like, well,
you're running around like
as long as we're here, you should get your head out of your fanny.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. And it turns out you've got some stuff to work on too.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to kind of the steps in the business journey after Mike joined, and then ultimately kind of the departure, and hear about what your thoughts were as we came to that. But I want to take a break first.
Sure.
So we'll be back.
All right.
The Loco Experience is sponsored by InMotion, providing next-day delivery for local businesses. If you need anything delivered in northern Colorado, InMotion's flat-fee service is a great resource for your business. Delivering from the Wyoming border to Denver and anywhere in between, their clients range from small breweries to real estate companies. InMotion can deliver almost anything you can imagine. If this fits a need for your business, contact InMotion directly by emailing them at inmotionnoco@gmail.com. That's INMOTIONNOCO@gmail.com, and mention you heard it on the Loco Experience. Yeah, I don't know how things work. They just work.
That's right. Just hit the light. Just hit the light. You don't have to know how electricity works.
Yeah, exactly. That's for smarter people than me. So when we departed, we were kind of into the stages of really turning the corner on Tooth Zone and really becoming a machine. What I was thinking when I was using the restroom just now was kind of the notion of build it as you're building it. So, like, were you financially successful early on? Was because of your specialty and niche in the market and stuff, you still had enough clients right away to be able to invest all these things and take your staff to Mexico and stuff?
No,
or that kind of built over time.
That sort of built over time. We've, again, coming from my background,
right?
It didn't matter how much we made; we lived on this much,
right?
So we always had more margin to spend on the business than people, because many of my colleagues, their wives have sacrificed forever to get you through school, and now they want the house and the car and all the stuff.
All of it. And they can starve a practice to death.
And it can kill you. It puts so much pressure on you. But we came through, there's the good old days. Everybody talks about the good old days.
Yeah.
Dentistry and medicine will never be the same as it was
Dentistry
back then.
seems way harder nowadays.
I'm so glad I'm not in it anymore.
Regulated to misery.
It was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's one of the reasons that I said I can't do this anymore. It was when you've got somebody trying to tell me how to treat your child, and you're an executive from Des Moines, Iowa.
And me and the parents agree
that
this is the right way to treat this child, but this...
And the insurance company says no, and there was...
We can't pay for that, yeah.
And then it finally came to the point where I said, where one case came up, and I said, you know what? I don't care. I'll do it for free.
Right.
Well, I'm going to do what's right, because I don't care. And my office manager came to me and said, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? You signed a contract that you can only do what they tell you. Oh, you don't understand who you're talking to.
I just retired then, I guess.
This is not going to work. In fact, I had a staff member who was with me for years and years and years who when I sold the practice 8 years ago, I worked for a couple of years full-time or part-time till they could get everything put together. And then I retired for good 5 years ago. And one of my staff members was running their whole operation over there. And during the COVID thing, and she and I got talking, and she said, you would have shot somebody. There's no way you would do any of this COVID crap. And I said, you're right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lord, that I'm on this end of my life.
Yeah. Because
I'm that tiger whose stripes don't change.
Yeah.
And
yeah, don't put me in a box. I like to say, if you ask me nice to do something, I'm probably your man. I'm pretty congenial. I'm pretty happy. But if you tell me to do something because you're the boss of me, I got an answer. I got two answers for you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, the red flag I was raised back, the church Deb and I were bitching about when we first met.
Right.
It was a very legalistic church. And I came to know the Lord there, so I praise the Lord for that.
Anomaly.
But it set a tone in me that said, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And that's something I fight still to this day.
Yeah.
We had an HOA thing. It's like, you have to do this. And I know I have to do it, but just and I'm going to find a way to do it so you don't think I did it, but I did it.
So you still don't really like it. Yeah.
That's right.
I had a word of the year or something. I guess it was back in 2019, because it must have been pre-COVID, because it didn't. But you know how the Christian walk, they're always talking about obedience. That word is less good. I like surrender. Surrender is a lot more like to a higher power that will like royally kick your ass otherwise. So you don't really have a choice. It's still obedience, but it just sounds a lot better. And it works a lot better for my personality.
It's a lot easier to take.
Right.
And obedience or surrender to who? See, to God, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I have a problem.
I still struggle.
I still struggle with that. But surrender to you?
Right.
Dude.
Or dude in Iowa that decides that this kid can't have this surgery because they're not quite bad enough yet.
I'm just...
Yeah.
And so dentistry got no fun.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about the kids anymore. It wasn't about the single mom who came in, and I'd look in her eyes and go, are you okay? And she'd break down crying, and we'd go to my office, and she's in the middle of a divorce, or she's doing this, or she's doing that. And I could get her to the right person.
Pretty soon one of your buddies has got a job for her to start her life over a
to
safe
get things,
way,
help.
or whatever.
And that, to me, God gave me this wonderful platform of 10,000 patients and parents that I could serve. And not just, we get talking and say, hey, Jenny wants to play piano. Hey, I got 4 guys right here, best piano teachers in town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Jill asks me that all the time. She's like, I have a need. Like, you got a network. I don't,
Well, my kids now, they're like, Jordan came to me. He owns Forge and Bow, and he's...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's your kid?
Yeah.
Oh, he should be in local think tank. Totally.
Oh, he should.
He's doing some great work, including that one on Mountain right around the corner from my house.
Oh, yeah.
That's a killer. Yeah.
That's a killer place.
I used to buy meth at that place.
Oh, really?
No, not really, but I know.
That's a killer place, though. But he came to me and he said, this is a few years ago, and he said, I just realized how easy I have it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I walk in and I'm 29 or 32 or whatever age it was. And he says, I'm Kent's kid. And they go, okay, come on in.
Right. Yeah.
He said, if I have a tire problem, boom, go to Big O, go to Huska. They're both really good friends of mine. Just drop my name.
Right.
You know, I need I need a physician. Boom, boom, boom. I need a boom, boom, boom. You don't realize when you're in a place 35 years.
Oh, you get loaded with social capital.
And
right?
It's unbelievable.
It's just like you're lugging this cart around with
right.
silver coins around.
And your kids get the benefit of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you keep your nose clean.
Yeah, but don't screw it up. Yeah, you could definitely
if you keep your nose clean, you know, and you know, so yeah, it's
a pretty interesting thing.
It's awesome to be around for a while, and you have Dennis Huska and Dave Everett, and these are my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I played ball with these guys forever, and you know, these are like icons.
Well, one of my best friends is Aaron Everett.
I watched the podcast.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, and he lives in
I've known Aaron since he was this tall.
That kind of same
He was
space.
in the youth group when my wife taught youth group.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So he lives in kind of that same space where he wants to carve his own kind of path, not be Stan's kid, right? And, you know, he's in real estate still. He gets 6 or 8 deals a year because he's Stan's kid.
Stan's kid.
And Stan's got a reputation for integrity, and Aaron hasn't done anything to sully that, if anything, to do better, you know. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Like, we're missing that a little bit. Like, when there was just villages, like when you were Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever, right? When he had all these traditions of family and things like that was a real element. And it's cool that Fort Collins still has some of that.
Some of that.
We're not too big to have grown out of that.
Back in Iowa, that's one of the things that kept me from absolutely outrageously stupidness. I did so much stupid.
Right.
I mean, the stories.
What would my mom's friends say if I did something even dumber than what I'm doing right now?
Yeah, because I could hear my dad saying, you're an Obermann. Don't screw the name up.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that stuck in my head, and I'd be in the middle of something stupid. I'm going, I can't do this, guys. Because if we get caught, it's going to screw my name up. I wasn't worried about going to jail.
Right.
I was worried about messing everybody in my lineage looking at me going, what did you do?
Above you, and especially
those
to follow. Like,
yes. And then I checked our lineage all the way back. We were horse thieves
from
Germany who escaped prison to come over here.
Perfect. Well, entrepreneurs. That's what I would say. So, I guess, tell me about the exit. Like, did you sell to a big national? Are dentists being rolled up like veterinarians and stuff these days? Or
I went to Mark Crane, my good friend, and I referred.
Oh, Crane Orthodontics?
Everybody to him, yeah. And Mark is a really good friend of mine. And I just said, you need to buy this practice. I'm done. And he said, I'm an orthodontist. Why would I want to buy the practice? I said, because I'm your biggest referral source.
All right.
So buy me out, hire somebody to run the practice. And you get all the referrals. It's just that easy. And he went, no, that makes a lot of sense.
You and I think so much. I'd like to say we, at Local Think Tank, we look for the win-win-win-win.
Yeah.
But we'll settle for the win-win-win if necessary.
Yeah.
You know, and like the thoughtfulness of just being like, you know, I've got one right buyer that can do right by my patients and by my staff and by their own self.
And he kept everybody around. It was different because it became, I think, a little more corporate in the sense that he had his practice and all of his stuff.
Uncle Ken is around,
and
like,
I didn't. And
I
honestly, Kurt, though, seriously, my attitude, which was erroneous, was I have set this thing up that I'm the least important person here. Okay, my staff is so good at what they do. My office manager is a freaking machine.
Yeah, the culture's dialed.
Anyone can step in and do what I do, and that's wrong. Tucson was not the same when I left.
Yeah,
because you didn't have that guy at the top who was always worried about everybody else. and that's probably the only difference. The dentists that are there now are really
still get a
good
great
at what
experience.
they do.
It's still more fun to work there than a lot of other places.
Yes, but it's not. You go talk to any of the past staff members, and I mean, even people I fired.
Yeah,
I'll see them a year later, and they're going, you know what? That's the greatest 2 years of my life. You know, and I screwed up, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have got fired, but yeah. So
that's cool.
You know, again,
when people know you care about them a lot, it makes a interesting impact on the way that they show up, and even when they're gone. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's all about relationship. Where we started an hour ago, it's about Zig Ziglar said it. You know, it's how many people can you allow to get to where they want to go. And Dave Holland helped me with that, and he would say, you know, she's not going to be here in another year and a half. Why? I was, why, Dave? You're going to grow her to the point this is not
that you'll be
big enough
suffocating
for her.
if you
this is
keep
not
her
big
here.
enough for her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
We'll get somebody else, but she gets to springboard to something better for her family.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's what it's all about.
Yeah. It's
because when you die, they're not going to say, and he did 13,719 crumb crowns really well, 74,419 root canals. No,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that crap.
Yeah,
they care about the fact that when you left here, especially with some of the Medicaid kids that we worked with, we had a huge Medicaid practice. I said, you know, some of these kids, the only hug they've got all week is from you.
Yeah.
The only positive feedback they've got this week is from you. Don't miss that opportunity to put that into that kid's life.
Yeah, that's a great thing to weave into a organization. So, anything last on business before we transition to the later segments?
It's hard. Business is hard.
Yeah. We talk about perseverance.
It takes a lot of work.
Focus and try hard for a long time.
Yeah, and people want too much too quick. You know?
Yeah, you really got to build a foundation. That's why one of the things you said on margin earlier, that if you can live on less than you make for an extended period of time, it allows you to really invest in that business and to, you know, grow that practice, hire that next person sooner than you might.
Margin, again, I have a whole talk on margin, but margin is the key, one of the keys to life.
Yeah.
Not just financial margin.
Yeah.
Emotional margin, physical margin.
Time
We need to create a life that I have margin, so when Kirk calls me and says, can you help me move, I can do it.
Yeah. Or when he says, do you remember we're having the podcast today?
Yes. I've got time to quick
come right
throw
over
a shirt on and jump on, you know. Yeah.
Sorry, throwing you to the bus there. So I think that's a great point to dwell on, though, is, you know, it's both in the, you know, some people buy stuff and then they sell it for more on a margin and stuff. Some people buy people's time. You know, your hygienists and stuff, you bought their time and you sold it to your patients in a different package. But having some margin there, that's the only way you can create effectively comfort, you know, because in business, profit is comfort. In life, you know, not having to always be anxious, you know, sure. I think the Bible repeats more than anything, fear not or worry not.
365 times.
Is that right?
It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Fear not.
It's one of my go-tos.
One for every day, because he doesn't want us to be scared.
Right.
Because if he's sovereign, I don't need to be scared.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't need to be scared. But margin, if you don't live a life that creates margin, mentally, physically, spiritually, in your life, you will never, ever be able to be gracious, to be giving. I one time asked the staff, how many of you would like to be generous? And everybody raised their hand.
Yeah.
How many of you are generous? Hardly anybody raised their hand. I said, because you don't live your life in a way that creates enough margin, you can be generous. And that means making some sacrifices.
Yeah.
Financially, not buying a $5 coffee every day on the way to work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, if you skip that 10 times in a month, you could bless somebody with a $50
You've got
tip
$50
when you have breakfast
to do something.
Right. Or whatever.
You know, time-wise, don't waste your time doing video games or this or this or this. so you have time to go be with a friend. Okay, but it takes creativity and it takes discipline, and most of us intentionality. You need to want to be generous.
Yeah.
And if you want to be generous, what you all said you wanted to be, then you need to create margin. We spend a half day every month talking about stuff just like that with all the staff.
Really?
Shut the place down. Rented a room.
Wow. Paid them to come in and learn stuff about just how business works and life and stuff.
More life than business.
Interesting.
More life.
Do you remember, I knew your name going way back into my banking career deep because you were, kind of business famous in among banker land. Like all the bankers wanted to be friends with Kent Obermann and stuff. Not sure we got acquainted really until realities and conversations around that. So
yeah.
But you had a certain mystique. This is back in 2007, 2010 days, a little bit and whatever. And I think part of it was that, like, he's built a business that people actually want to be a part of his team, and they've got great market share and everybody likes them, and it just is that way.
Yeah, we were blessed. And, coming from where I came from, God just brought the right people at the right time. He surrounded me. Dave Holland was a tremendous thing. Barb Ashley.
Yeah.
She's the queen. She made Tucson what it is. She came to me and she was a bank president at First National.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she wanted to run your business for you?
I don't know if I can tell this story.
I don't know.
Be nasty.
We can cut it out if you want to later.
No. Okay.
Tell it. Let's just do a provisional.
So she comes in, and
I want a little more.
I was looking for a bank manager. I was looking for a practice manager, and and a lady came in, and I hired a lady that morning, and I'm back working on a kid, and this lady, one of my staff, comes back and says, "There's a lady here to apply for the job," and I said,
tell her we already filled it. Sorry.
I hired somebody, and she left. She came back. She goes, "She ain't leaving." What do you mean she ain't leaving? Till she talks to you, she ain't leaving. It's okay.
I like a strong woman.
Her husband calls her the war wagon. Okay, that tells you. So I go into my office, and I'm telling her, I said, "Man, I'm really sorry, but I hired somebody this morning." She goes, "Let me tell you." What I said, "What's your background?" I was a bank president, vice president, something. I ran all the operations.
Yeah,
she had 100 people under her. I think it's First National. And she said that all year long they promised us. I said, "Well, how come you're not working there?" Because I can't pay you what they're paying you. And she goes, all year long it was like, you do this, and we're going to do these kind of bonuses and this for your people. And I motivated. I got them to do their thing, and we got right to the end of the year, and the bank president came and said,
"Yeah,
we just don't have the money.
Some of the other locations,
we don't have the money for your people."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh wow, that sucks." And so I went and talked to my people and said, we did our job. They didn't make enough profit or whatever it was. I don't remember the story altogether. And then she goes, a week later, I walk in, and there's this massive bonus check on my desk for her.
Oh, gosh.
And she's like, went up to the president or whoever the guy was that was in charge and said, "What the hell is this?" "Well, that's for you." "What about my people?" "Well, that's them." She said, "I quit."
Wow.
Cashed the check. Divided it. I just like, what? I can't, telling the story breaks me up.
Yeah, I can see that.
That kind of integrity is unheard of. Unheard of. And I said, "Okay, you're hired."
Did you fire the other gal?
And I said, "Your first job, call this other lady and tell her she doesn't have the job." And I said, "Your second job is, you're going to be on a plane in 2 days. I just did a new computer system, and I haven't got a clue what the hell's going on." She goes, "Gotcha."
I'll figure it out.
So she came back a week later, 2 weeks later.
That's pretty cool.
"So how do you run this place?" And I said, "Well, I work really hard, and when it's all over at the end of the month, I pay everybody.
Stuff just kind of happens.
And then I keep what's left." She goes, "Okay, I need these reports." She gave me all that banker crap that you understand.
Right.
And I'm going, I recognize 2 of these. She goes, "Oh my God, we have a long way to go." 26 years later, she's my office manager.
That's so cool.
Yeah, she's the queen.
She just ran the thing pretty much the whole time.
She's
starting
the queen.
then.
She's the queen.
Yeah.
She's the reason we were successful. I was the hands and the face.
Well, and the vision.
She was the brain. But all that. But she was the brains. She was the one.
Yeah.
She was the glue.
Well, you guys were a visionary integrator before, like, you really knew what those things meant. Have you studied that at all, by the way? There's a book called Traction by Gino Wickham, and he's basically, the theory is, hey, you $1 million business operator, you're pretty cool, you started a business and stuff, but if you want to be a $10 million plus business, you need an integrator that can kind of pull all the shit together that your wild brain can come up with and allow you to focus on the important things and not get bogged down with the managing of all the other stuff.
Right.
And it sounds to me like she was that integrator for you before Gino even wrote his first word.
Tom Collins and
good to great guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, we used a lot of his stuff. I can't think of the gentleman's name right now. It's just
like Maxwell or something.
It's wearing different hats.
Yeah, right.
And I just
that's part of the business owner's mindset sometimes is being able and willing to change hats, right?
Or to take it off, leave it on the shelf.
Right. Well, that's when you're really an owner.
Yeah, that's not what I do well.
Yeah.
I don't do this well. So let me hire someone that does that well.
Yeah.
Because, Tom Collins, here's what I do. This is what Kent does good.
Yeah.
I went into
what does Kent does good?
Well, I went into a national conference one day, and they said, I showed up late because I got lost in Nashville, and I showed up and I had to sit in the front, and this guy said, class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dentist, and who thinks they're a class 5 dentist? And he described what it was, and mine was the only hand that went up. And he said, really? He said, yeah, why do you think you're a class 5 dentist? I said, I do 3 things: give shots, schmooze parents, and talk to staff. That's it.
I barely practice.
I don't do anything. Right. I don't do anything else. I hire people to do everything else. And he said, oh my God, you might be the only class 5 dentist I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. One of the most successful dental practices around. You let people be in their lane.
I know what I do well. I want to do more of that. And I'm going to let you guys do everything else because I don't want to do it. I don't even know how to run my Panorex machine.
I don't know what that is.
It's a big
X-ray thing.
It's a big X-ray thing. And people are like, dentists are like, you don't know how to run your Panorex machine. What the hell kind of practice are you? And I said, why would I want to run the Panorex machine? I haven't got time for that. And I'm over. She's over here doing something that costs $50. I'm over here doing something that costs $500.
Right.
Are you nuts?
The next episode out is going to be me with Alicia, my new staffer, and with Alma, who you just met. And Alma came on the team in March of 2020, I guess. Yeah, she'll be 2 years, or 2021 even. Anyway, a month later, 2 weeks later, her lead quit. So Alma was an intern working for somebody, and so Alma's now my person. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do most of your job, but we have a newsletter, and we have this and that, and we have a website, and there's really pretty good notes from Rory about how to do it all. So let me know. Good luck. Let me know how that goes. Let me know if you get stuck somewhere, and we'll figure it out together. And I think there's a lot of it seems like sometimes I suspect you feel the same. Like you're like, maybe that's a shortcoming of me, but I think to get out of the way and let people shine and do the things they do well is actually honoring.
I think within a framework, they need to be able to do what they do best. Like, that's one of my things when I would consult that say, okay, this was my example was the receptionist. Doctor, do you know how she's recepting?
Right.
And they don't.
Right.
You have no idea what she's saying.
Right.
She came from another practice who you don't even like the guy.
Right.
And she's recepting the same way as him.
Right.
Why don't you give her a framework that says, here's the 5 things.
And everybody assumes we hate them after she gets done with their intake.
Or not. And
or...
your training is yelling at her when she screws something up.
Right.
Lay out for her what it is you want. And the reason you don't is you don't know what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've never taken
take
the time to
ask
say
yourself what you want.
How would I like the phone to be answered?
Right. Huh. I like it.
And
just
then
that minimal amount of structure, kind of like enough, not too much, because you don't want to be
No. I don't want to put you in a box where you're saying, "Good morning, this is Dr. Obermann." No, here's the 5 things you got to get across, because the next person in my practice, here's 3 of these things we're going to reinforce,
right?
And then
they're going to add 2 more things,
and the next person's going to reinforce 3 of these, and by the time you get all the way through the staff, you've had everything that I want you to know 3 times. So that when you're at a cocktail party and they say, "How's Tucson?" you're going to tell them exactly what I want you to say.
And what were your words?
And you don't know. Well, that they care more about kids than money, that there's nothing more important than staff, because you can't believe how important that is to moms.
Yeah.
Because they're all staff.
Yeah.
Most of them are staff.
These days.
And they're going,
they care about their staff.
I've never seen anybody treat staff
Maybe I should work
this.
there. I bet you got all your new employees from, not maybe all, but a lot of them from moms, from patients.
That and from
referral.
In fact, I had one year a dentist called me irate. He said, "You stole one of my assistants." I said, "No, I didn't. She came to a better place." And he said, "Well," and I said, "Tell you what, come over to my staff meeting on Friday." It happened to be Friday when we had our half-day staff meeting. Give me your best pitch. Take anybody you can. He said, "Well, nobody's going to leave your practice." Exactly. She didn't come to me because she didn't like you. She liked me better.
Right.
Because we offered more for her family. I mean, we'd bring staff in. I'd hire people to work on budgeting for their families. And retirement planning and stuff. That's not, you know what that's like. That's That's marketing for someone else to say, "You want to talk to 60 people about..."
Right.
And they're going, "Yeah.
Yeah, do I?"
Yeah. Didn't even cost me a nickel.
Right. But you also have an obligation to get somebody that you believe has integrity in there to talk to them and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the, with great leverage comes great responsibility. Sometimes, and when I say leverage, I mean power ultimately in a different way, right? Because nobody's really got
when
power.
you refer me to Huska Automotive, say, and Huska screws up, I should be mad at you, not them.
For sure.
They're incompetent.
Yeah.
You sent me here.
That's right.
So my referrals, I had half the dentistry industry in this town mad at me, all the specialists, because why don't you refer to me? You're not that good.
Get better, maybe I will.
They're like, "What?" Or, "You're good, but your staff sucks."
Right.
And they don't treat my people like they're used to being treated, and it's offensive. So you get your front office straightened up, and I'll refer to you.
You're such a plain speaking son of a bitch, but I love it. So, do you want to do after you finish that? We'll do one more tiny sipper of that other tequila,
of the other kind.
Yeah, just so we can compare. So we always talk about faith, family, and politics. We've talked about faith sprinkled in a little bit, but we can start with any of those 3 and do what you like with them.
I think faith's the most important thing in life. I came to my dad one time with this massive problem. And my dad, even as an alcoholic, he had a couple of really great things once in a while. And he said, "What's the worst thing that could happen?" And I'm going, "Oh my God, I don't know. This has happened and this, and she's mad and whatever. What's the worst that could happen?" I said, "I don't know. You could die." And he said, "You got that handled."
Yeah.
And I went,
back to fear not.
Yeah. And he said, "The rest is just for living. Just live it. It'll be okay." And so when you've got that hope, and hope isn't like I wish.
Yeah.
Hope is a reality.
Yeah.
That
something I know.
I know what I know, what I know. And you can say it's not real. You can not believe it. I don't care. I know what I know. And you can't hurt me. So you live your life fearless. More fearless. That's not true. You live your life more fearless than if you didn't have that.
Yeah, fair.
Because we're all human.
Right.
Somebody puts a gun to your head, you're scared.
For sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Even because you don't want him to pull the trigger. I really want to watch another soccer game.
Right.
I really want to watch the 8th grader grow up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So to me, faith is if you haven't crossed that bridge, you'll never be as successful as you could be at any part of your life.
That's a really interesting way to say that. I think I meet a lot of people, and you do too, that haven't really ever taken the question on because they don't really want to know where it's going to take them.
Yeah.
And they're otherwise successful, otherwise capable, love their wife, love their kids, love their husband, whatever that is. And yet they're just a little bit daunted to take that question on because of what it might mean.
But what does eternity mean? I mean, the word eternity, we don't know what that means.
Yeah.
You can't get your arms around that.
Yeah.
It's like a trillion. You don't know what a trillion is.
It's Joe's budget.
Yeah, but you don't know what a trillion is, any more than I, do. But that knowing, I mean, and there's a lot of angst that comes with that, though, too, in the sense that, are my grandkids going to get it? And that puts a lot of pressure on me to make sure that I live a life that they can look at and say, I want to be with him for the rest of eternity.
Well, and I don't know how did I say this recently? I don't know how to say this not rudely, but so I'll just say it rudely, politely. But like, here we are, we've drank, a third of a bottle of tequila, being conservative. We've partied, but like, what's it mean to be a faithful Christian follower in your world? Like, there's Baptists who'll say this is like what we've been doing already. Is like that's.
Well, to me, there are obviously things you don't step over and that you do, but it's a much wider swath, I think, than most people. I also believe that you don't need to say some silly prayer or whatever, because if you said it says repent and believe.
Jesus is the decider.
It says repent and believe. It doesn't say a prayer, go to church all this time and all. I believe we're commanded to,
and encouraged
to congregate in groups of people to think like we do.
Yeah.
More for us than him.
Sure.
Because he's saying Kurt needs to hold Kent accountable.
Yeah.
Kent needs to hold you accountable. So when you're doing something stupid, you can say, hey, don't be stupid. You're one of us, and you're making us look bad, dude.
Right.
Stop it.
Right.
Stop it. And I think so. I think the church today, my biggest frustration with the church, big C, church today, is that they refuse, in lion's share, they refuse to tackle cultural issues while they're happening. They'll wait till the Dobbs thing's all over, and then they'll go, oh, by the way, we don't think abortion's okay.
Right.
See, your people are being hit with questions and comments and
they've got them cowering in the
slides.
corner, kind of. Yeah.
Why are you not educating everyone who sits under you with the tools that it takes biblically, scripturally, to defend your position? Don't tell me what to think. Tell me what God thinks, and let me and
why
him,
do you think he thinks
and
that?
let me and him figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So then I've got tools that when someone comes to me and says, I think blah, 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 I can say, well, here's what I believe and here's why I believe it. As opposed to spending an hour and a half in church on Sunday, and you come out with the same gospel message as you. There's more to the Bible than gospel.
Yeah.
It's the end point that's the most important.
Yeah.
But there's more to it.
That's
You can't get people to hear if you don't move them from here to there. And they're there, and we can't move them because we have no argument.
Yeah.
And we're not given tools on a Sunday morning to go do that.
I have a suspicion. I've found throughout my Christian time, and I came late as a Christian as well. I was 28 or something like that, 29. And all through my Christian time, whether it was Bible Study Fellowship, which is kind of a building block to local think tank, or if it was my own church or things like that, like here I am feeling like kind of overblessed, somewhat shameful, but don't be ashamed of it, share it, and bless others. That was kind of my path.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had pastors and church people and stuff like along the way because some of my biggest advocates and encouragers would be like, God's shining something on you. I'm not quite clear on it, but you got some mojo going. Has that been a similar experience for you?
My wife is constantly amazed that anyone would want to talk to me, because I am, as you said earlier, kind of a truth talker.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how you feel. I really don't that much. I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to offend you and make you.
It's not my goal to offend you, but
if I see something that I think needs to be said, I don't have a problem saying it. I don't care if it's. I was in line one time to go talk to Dan Quayle.
Okay.
We're in line, and this guy says, "Oh my God, what are you gonna say to Dan Quayle?" And I said, "You know what the deal is? He's looking down the thing, saying, 'What the hell am I gonna say to Ken Obermann?'" That's my attitude. You got a shitty job as a vice president. You can't spell potato, okay? Which is actually
not going to put you up a pedestal.
No. But say what needs to be said, because if you don't love me enough, Kurt, to correct me, you don't love me. You're blowing smoke up my skirt, and I don't need that. I got enough of that. I need people with the courage to look me in the eye and say, "Stop. Don't do that anymore."
Yeah. We stole a quote from Oscar Wilde for Local Think Tank a few years ago from a Startup Week thing, and the repackaged version was, "It takes a good friend to be a front stabber." And that's the interesting thing about this Local Think Tank, not to drift off there, but it's my ministry. You know, there's so many Christian kind of principles and precepts woven into the way we do things and the why. And 3/4 of my members, because these days there's a lot of Christian men's business groups and stuff, and that's fine, that's great. They leave the ladies behind. There should be a Christian women's business group for one thing.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm proud of what we've built that is kind of a sneaky Christian organization. It's woven in. It isn't on the billboard. It isn't on the About Us, but it's part of the DNA.
Well, and it's everybody that works for them knows. People that deal with
the same thing was true at Truth Zone.
Yeah. People that are vendors, they know. They know because we treat them differently than other practices would treat them. And we didn't go into it going, okay, we're going to do this the Christian way.
Right.
No, we're going to do it the right way. We're just going to do it right. Let's just do it right. Let's be fair.
Yeah, if you lead with, "You can trust me, I'm a Christian," I'm afraid not. I'm pretty sure I can.
No, I've lost more money with Christians in business deals than anybody that I know.
I'm not surprised because it's a terrible excuse.
Well, you drop your guard because you think they think like you do.
Yeah.
And they don't. And the label Christian, because you walk into a garage, doesn't make you a car. Because you walk into a church, it doesn't make you a Christian.
Yeah.
Because you go to church every week, that doesn't make you a Christian. That makes it good for your business.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I'm a member of
such and such,
whatever that is. That's not. No, when you've repented and believed, because that's what it says. Repent and believe, then you will live your life differently.
Yeah.
And that's the folks I want to be around.
Yeah.
All right, I got to try this now. Here we go.
Yeah, this is it's not going to be quite as good as the Don Julio, but it's not bad.
No, it's got a nice finish.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of it. Is it just kind of
it's got a nice
tails
finish.
off after you.
Yeah.
So this is the this is the
little advertisement
Suerte Reposado. Suerte, if you want to come on board and be an advertiser for the Local Experience
I think
podcast,
you should.
Or you, Don Julio, but it seems less likely.
No.
We're a locals podcast. We were looking at our stats the other day, and about 65% of our listens are
drink tequila.
They're Fort Collins, down to Denver, and then all around Berthoud, Loveland. So we're a very local podcast.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
No, it is. I was at a resort in Puerto Vallarta, Casa Bonita, and I've been there several times. It's on a golf course, which I didn't know. Can imagine the first time I woke up and got up in the morning, because we got there at midnight. I got up the next morning, it's like, where the hell's the beach? We're on a golf course.
Stupid golf course on my beach.
What? Who set this up? Oh, I did. Just a minute. I thought everything in Mexico was on a beach. Now, they did have a place on the beach with a free sushi bar and all that stuff, so it was cool. But anyway, I come back the second year, and this guy said, God, I got this tequila. You really need to try it. It's called Gonzales.
Okay.
And I'm drinking. I'm going, oh, my God, this stuff is so good. I need to take some home. You can't buy it. What do you mean you can't buy it? Can't buy it. So Don Julio's family came to the resort the week before.
Okay.
And they brought several cases of Gonzales. And I said, I don't get it. And he said, Don Julio sold to like Jim Beam or one of those.
Okay.
Okay. He can't do anything for 5 years, but he started a company called Gonzales because his name is Don Julio Gonzales.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
So look for Gonzales tequila if you want to get away from the mainstream.
Absolutely
all right.
Killer. But I said, you can't buy it. And he said, no, you can't buy it, Doc. I'm sorry. So all week long, I drank as much as I could. And so I'm leaving, and the bartender walks up with a plastic or with a paper bag with a bottle of Reposado and Anejo in it, and said, "Here, put this in your bag."
Of the
quick."
Gonzales?
Of the Gonzales.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm gonna have to have you over. You have to try some Gonzales.
I'm on board. Well, you got 30 of them, I guess.
I got about that much left. So
well, I'll just take a little bit just to try. So we left off on faith. I think that's probably a fine place to leave it. Let's jump to family. You've praised Debbie a fair bit already.
She is the queen of my life. We've been married 44 years in 2 more weeks. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me and the worst thing that's ever happened to me. We've been married 44 years, probably 35 of them happy.
Which sounds like a pretty good percentage, but that's 9 years of not happy.
No, we've had some tough times, and the story has made us better, stronger, more resilient. I love her more today than I did tomorrow, and I will love her more tomorrow than I do today. My kids are. I was talking to somebody last weekend, and they said, "Tell me about your kids." And when I got done, they said, "So you're not proud of them?" I said, "Well, yeah, kind of. You know."
Well, not yet. They're still young. You know.
Jordan owns Forge and Bow. It's a design build firm here.
Is that his business?
Yeah, it's his.
Solopreneur or whatever.
Yeah. He and Annie, his wife.
Okay.
And
he's an architect. Or
no, he has no building experience at all.
What?
He has an architect that works for him.
Yeah.
He has it, and he's got, 20, 30 employees or whatever.
Wow, does he really?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. He's coming out of nowhere. Because is he still in that Opera Galleria, or not Opera, across the street over there by Palmer's space on Old Town Square?
He is on Olive.
Oh, he moved, okay.
Above where
Leno
used to be. I don't know, it's a restaurant there.
Anyway. Anyway, Kent's son, look me up sometime. I dig builders and creators. And
no, he's
got a good reputation.
And I'm so proud of him. Not just he's a great dad, he's a great husband, he's a great community member. He runs a good business, and he's just. He has the integrity I wish I had at that age. It took me a while to grow into it.
Well, he had better examples.
Well, he did. My daughter works for Realities, and her hubby works for Huska. Huska is like one of the most
LJ is one of my longtime friends, and Dennis and Nancy have been people I've respected for years.
Dennis and Noreen are.
They're a great example of how to be community forward with your whole business practice and operation.
We need 1,000 of them in Fort Collins.
Well, you can't because they all go broke because there wouldn't be enough customers for all those auto mechanics.
No, you're right. But they're fabulous.
But yes.
So, and so family to me, being Bappa, the guy with always has the mints in his pocket. But yet my job now is, we just read a book on John Wayne. We're writing a book on.
Have you been to the
Harriet.
True Grit Cafe?
Who?
The True Grit Cafe in
No,
Ridgeway?
I have not.
Oh, you should go to the True
have
Grit
not.
Cafe if you're a John Wayne fan. You almost have to.
With my 8 and 6 year, we just read
Yeah, I love
a book on Harriet Tubman.
Oh.
And so I'm trying desperately to give them what they're not getting.
Yeah.
And I think Poudre School District is probably better than most, but it's still a freaking mess as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And so faith, family, politics. I'm a gun-toting, Bible-popping.
A Trump-loving, MAGA?
Conservative.
No, not that.
I'm not.
You're shy there, too. You're a libertarian is what you are.
Yeah,
like half my guess.
I think I love Trump's policies. I wouldn't want him dating my daughter. I wouldn't want him
alone in a room with my sister for 2
yeah,
hours.
Yeah.
Which says a lot.
No, it does.
I've actually used the same
I
reference
wouldn't
all
let
the time.
any of my kids or my wife alone with any politician.
Right.
They're all crooks. They're all liars. They're all narcissistic, or you can't have that job if you're not a narcissist.
Oh shit.
You just can't.
Yeah.
You have to believe you're bigger than life. You know?
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
There's no humble in president. There just is no humble there. So you know, as far as politics, I want to conserve what we have as a nation, so that makes me a conservative. I am.
You're a fairly free-thinking guy, though.
I am, and I understand sin.
Yeah.
And I understand all that. I get it. But I also understand one of our responsibilities as a culture is to push against that.
And to conserve the stuff that has carried us forward.
That's
and
worked
been our
for
foundation.
250 years. Here's the things that's worked.
Yeah.
You know? And if you want to believe that and say that, if you read Romans,
right,
they're going to do that.
Yeah, that's what they do.
They're going to do that. But that doesn't mean we do that. That means they do that. And I think we have an immense amount of people who've been given over to a depraved mind. They cannot think properly.
Yeah.
They cannot.
It's mysterious. Isn't
It is. and here's an epiphany I had the other day with this new stuff coming out with Elon and all this crap about all the FBI and everybody.
Oh, all the
depressing everything.
Yeah, basically
and,
the complete support of one candidate over another.
Well, and just information in general. We're not going to tell you the truth.
Right.
We're going to tell you only what we want you to know. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
So I felt like putting out a post that said to my less conservative, more liberal, left-leaning friends, you know, I honestly thought this group of intelligent, wonderful men and women that I know and I've hung out with for life, that are completely left weirdos.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And my brother being one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
And a whole bunch of my friends.
I thought you were like frickin' morons. What's wrong with you? And then I realized lately, you have made decisions based upon the information you've been given. And the decisions you've made have been okay with the information you were given. You were just given faulty, bad information. And so you're not a moron, what you call ignorant. That's not stupid. That's not a moron. That's uninformed. You're uninformed because I don't believe. Now your ego.
I'm going to push back against that because one thing that you should know is that you can't really trust the government even if you're only a little bit informed.
No, I'm not talking about government. I'm talking about science.
Well, social media and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you go back now, here's the problem.
Oh, right.
Here's the problem. You go read the science now.
You had to be a detective to get to learn.
Right,
some
and those
stuff.
of us that did that, everyone went, "Oh, you're crazy.
You're
What the hell's
anti-vaxxer."
wrong with you? You're an anti-vaxxer." Now I'm saying, but the problem is this: your ego, your persona, is so wrapped up in this.
Yeah.
Even if you read the right stuff now, you can't
hardly accept it
because your world collapses.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And you become a conservative. And you'd rather shoot yourself. You'd rather shoot yourself.
So where do you think we go from here? Like, honestly, like, because it's a crazy ass, like, honestly, there is no time that I can think of that ahead of the moment of decisions and things was more unpredictable than right now. With the richest man in the world, bought the broadest spread platform in the world, and he's dumping all their dirty laundry all over the street, basically showing that the 2020 and maybe the 2022 elections were largely influenced by government insiders, bureaucracy, and suppression of information, and shadow banning. I have my podcast clip from last week that just released on Monday was about I did a little clickbait one with asking about our miscarriage rates up in your midwifery business, Althea, and I got like a dozen clicks on my channel and my personal channel, and then it just stopped for the last 24 hours. Somebody turned the "don't let other people watch that" button.
I mean, you can't have anything that goes against mRNA.
Right, for sure. I shouldn't have said that in my clip, apparently.
Evidently.
Right. I don't know. I should be like JP Sears.
I'll like post something on Facebook. I think there's like 4 people get it.
Right.
Really
if it's about that. If I show a
do.
picture of an old resume or my dog that died 10 years ago, then I get 87.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think where it's going, I think in spite of all this stuff that comes out, you may sway 6, 8, 9% of the population to go, this is, I don't know, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
The rest of them,
we'll just keep marching toward totalitarianism until it's time.
It's Romans.
Yeah. And
now,
we'll see what the real mark of the beast is when it's time.
I'm a premillennialist.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, I believe we'll be raptured.
The fall has already happened.
No. I believe we will be raptured.
Oh.
Before the millennial kingdom comes in.
So
all that stuff that happens after the 3.5 years and all the stuff you read about.
If you believe hard enough now, you'll be gone before then. You don't have to worry.
It's not hard enough. You either believe or you don't believe.
Right.
I'm a pre-trib guy. We're going to meet him in the air.
Yeah.
And what's left, we'll have to go through all of this other stuff.
And maybe some of you guys will come to faith during that. It's going to be shit.
A whole bunch will, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. I mean, I'm right now doing a prophecy class.
Okay.
Have since January.
Yeah, we could spend 2 hours on the faith part probably.
You need to have Steve Smutzer come in.
Oh, I like Steve. Yeah.
I
didn't know he knew about this stuff. He was a business
know about
guy.
it?
Yeah.
No. He's a master.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've been sitting on here for a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah. You should a 3 of us come in and talk about prophecy.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll
have a prophecy episode.
Your mind, because it did mine.
Yeah. Okay.
Blow your mind.
There was a while when I was kind of fresher into Christianity, frankly, and I was pretty intrigued by that whole line and studied a lot, and then
the Nephilim, the giants, the fallen angels coming down, propagating with women. I just blew all of that off. Seriously, as a Christian, because it's like, I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. It sounds like,
Right.
And then Steve's going, no. Let's go verse by verse. Let's talk about how it all weaves together. And you're going, oh my God.
You've done Bible study fellowship too, haven't you?
Yeah.
That was one of my early influences for Loco, because they were like, we think you should be a discussion leader. You're really good at asking questions and getting people involved in the conversation and stuff. I'm like, I don't know anything about the Bible.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll teach you how to be a facilitator.
Yeah.
And so that was the earliest piece of the puzzle, really, for Loco Think Tank, fully 7-8 years before Loco started. But that little moment of them saying, you don't need to know the answers to lead a conversation that finds the answers.
Yeah.
And,
as a facilitator, I have a life group. In fact, we're meeting tonight. And it's
Are they going to be surprised that you're a little bit pissed up on tequila?
No, they won't.
Okay, just curious.
That's it. But it's like, as a facilitator, my job is to get you involved. My job is not to have the answers. And I told him that if you want someone to show up every week with all the Bible answers, I ain't your guy.
Right.
If you want someone that'll ask the hard questions, that won't let you skip through stuff because you don't have the balls to say what you need to say, I'm your guy.
I love it.
You know?
I love it.
Now, if you can't take that, don't be in my group.
Right. And don't be on my podcast.
I can't.
So here's
I
a
only
question.
have one. I have one way of doing things, and that's straightforward.
I just asked Dan Anderson this question. You know Dan, Kingdom
Yeah.
Way Ministries.
Yeah.
So I think he was taken slightly aback. But what of the major sins has been your biggest struggle throughout your...
Lust.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. I think
That was the same for me.
if 75% of men in the church are hooked on porn,
Yeah.
not hooked, or at least watch it, we all struggle with it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all struggle with it. And part of it is, for those of us that don't have, people that don't know me really, really well, they think, well, he's this extrovert guy on stage, jumping up and down. I don't like people that well. I'm really kind of an introvert.
You're playing a part, kind of?
I'm really kind of a let's have two couples over. I don't like parties.
Interesting.
I'll go to your party, but I'd rather go you'll find me behind the bar serving everybody so I don't have to talk.
Huh.
That's not my style, So yeah, we all have our ways of hiding
Yeah.
things. But as far as your question was,
Yeah, the question was like, what do you struggle with the most?
I lust, and I think anyone that doesn't admit that as a male, it's like, what are you, gay? I mean, seriously.
Right.
And even
Kinda.
gay guys struggle with lust,
Right, for sure.
and I think we're wired that way.
Yeah. Well,
Now, that
that's
doesn't
how
make it
the
okay.
species keeps moving forward. Yeah.
That doesn't make it okay, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're not wired that way.
Well, and you lived in a somewhat similar place to what I lived. You were a successful, high-income earning business owner that had, in your case, you had all these ladies working for your office that thought you were super cool. I would be shocked if there wasn't at least one or two that didn't make a pass at you over time. And, to be honest, I've been flirted with out and about and things. And I'm like, it is what it is, Jill. And, like, I'm Fort Collins famous. Like, I could not, like, be a cheater and somebody not, like, rat me out.
No.
Like, easy.
Well, I can say this. I don't know if I've ever had a staff member make a run at me because they all know Deb.
Fair.
And they know my commitment to her. In fact, I was dancing with somebody the other night at a show that we were doing. My band was playing. And she literally said, "You're the most married guy I know."
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I am.
They know.
Now, that doesn't mean that when I'm in New York at a conference, someone hasn't made a run at me.
Yeah. Right.
Okay?
Or whatever. Right.
But
Just
again,
to be clear, I haven't had any staff members make a run at me
That's right.
either. But
I think that's where your
Hi,
faith.
Alma.
I think that's where your faith comes in, where it's not okay.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Deb and I honestly should have been divorced 5 or 6 times,
Yeah.
but we made a commitment that said no, so it was never even an option.
What was your biggest contributor to that challenge when it was rough?
In fact, Deb and I were just talking about this on the way home the other night. Perseverance and loyalty are what I'm all about. I'm a machine. I'm the same all the time when it comes to her.
Yeah.
I've never not loved her to death. And it doesn't matter what she does or says, because to me, love is a commitment.
Yeah.
It's not a feeling. I have decided to love you, Kurt, as a brother. You cannot do anything that makes me not do that. Only I can make that decision.
Yeah.
And I decide if that happens or not. And I will not love you.
Yeah.
I won't like you, but that's
Right.
different. That's totally different. Love is a lifetime commitment that I have to you as a brother in Christ, to my wife, to my kids. I don't have to like anything you do.
Yeah.
But I have decided to love you all the way to heaven.
I dig it.
So
I feel like it's time for the Loco experience. You remember that? You said you had like 3 or 5 or something like that would be good candidates. I'll let you tell 2 if you want to, but
okay. Ask me the question.
So the Loco experience, the craziest experience of your lifetime that impacted your life and changed the world that you interacted with, and that you're willing to share with a public audience that might listen to this. Even if it's your wife or your daughter. Or any of your clients out there.
I've had a lot of crazy experiences that have changed my life. Spiritually are the ones that make the most impact. We were going through a tough patch, and we were both singing in the choir or in the worship band. This is going to seem like not much to some people, but to me it was a big deal. And it was like, I don't think we should be up here singing. Because neither one of us.
We're kind of in a bad place with God, and so He doesn't want us here praising Him.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like Him at all.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't been on the back deck, looking at the sky, shaking your fist, asking what the hell's going on, I don't think you've been there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've been there a few times, and I literally went to the pastor, and this again, it's not going to sound like a big deal, and said, "Dude, I don't think Deb and I should be, doing this." It was Tom Glossy, and Tom was like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Man, I'm broken. I'm not sure I like God. I'm not sure I like this church. I like the church because I like you and the people in it, but this whole God thing, I'm just pissed right now." And he just looked at me as a pastor and said, "So you think every time I preach, I like God?" and I've got this all screwed together? I'm going, "Well, yeah." He's going, "Are you out of your mind?" And it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
God's there all the time, loves me all the time, understands what I'm going through. If I get hit by a bus on the way home, the fact that I'm pissed at him right now doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Well, he made a choice. He sent a contract.
It's not it's not performance based.
Yeah.
I don't need, and that changed the way I looked at so much because it's not performance based.
Yeah.
And there's times I look up and I go,
well, and that led back to your performance based on the love thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know if it's the same conversation or just an extra layer, but when, we're too late in the podcast to go into this, but even living together before marriage and stuff, it's like, well, yeah, it's fine as long as you do good, and if you don't do good, then you're out, or whatever, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But when you choose to love, when you choose to marry, when you make a covenant, you're committed. And even when you're a dipshit,
it changes everything.
Whatever, yeah.
The commitment to him.
Yeah. And your pastor recognizing that for you.
Yeah, the commitment to marriage as opposed to shacking up.
Yeah.
The commitment when you have repented and believed. When you believe, when you say, I believe this is how I should live. That I believe because
even when I fall short,
because
I believe this is how I should live.
Right. It doesn't. My actions are not nearly as important as my motives, who are not nearly as important, or is not nearly as important as my belief system.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a long distance between sometimes
the
what
way
I
want
believe and what happens.
Yeah.
Because I believe this is my motive, and I still screw it up.
Right.
And it's like, you're 70 years old. Get your head out of your butt. You should have this together. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't all the time. And he gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it. That's why he died on the cross.
That's why he sampled it, with Jesus a little bit and faced a lot of temptations, I think, was to just have a better understanding. He's a curious God, even though he knows everything. Strangely enough.
That's an interesting comment. Curious God, even though he knows everything. Yeah. No, he's not curious. He knows everything, But yes, he gives us such grace, such a wide swath, because he knows who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Peter. What a dip.
Right. That's what I mean by curious. And he
Yeah.
still wanted to love that
Yeah.
guy, right?
It's like-
and still wants to love me.
Well, he goes from, I don't know him.
Right.
Who?
Never heard of that
What
guy.
are you talking about?
I was buying a pizza.
I'll die
ago.
for you.
Right.
I'm going to hang me upside down or boil me in oil or whatever. However he died, it was like 10 years apart, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, in 10 years, absent from the physical Jesus apart.
And he's
Like
still.
his faith got stronger and stronger as time passed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of what he experienced. And
So
what
that's
he
your
saw.
local experience, really, is just having faith, living faith in you.
Well, just
And that particular experience, but overall, it's like
overall, to me, it's like
it's a maker.
just he is consistent and faithful and always there for Ken Obermann. I can't speak for everybody else.
Yeah.
But I just know that I'm there in the
Indebted.
hands.
Yeah.
I'm there in the hands, even though I don't want to be sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'm a rebellious
Yeah.
son.
Yeah,
of a-
we
I
are
mean, I am
kinsmen.
horrible. I'm horrible. And if you had a TV screen on the front of my head that showed
Like
my
what was I
thoughts,
thinking all the time?
oh my God, you would just like triple X, horrible.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Do you avoid like driving through CSU because you don't really want to see all the girls with the big boobs jogging around in the summer?
No, I actually drive through on purpose. No.
Right. Well, it's a both, right?
No, you just, again, as a guy, if you say you don't look at that,
right.
you're a liar or you're gay. There's only two answers to that.
Yeah. And you can choose to
And there's nothing
be
wrong.
faithful to.
There's nothing wrong with going, whoa. Whew. But Deb's my,
And then you can say,
Deb's my babe.
well, and plus you can say, I'm 70.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I still got my mojo, baby.
Right. In my
No.
mind, I got that shit.
In my head, I'm 27. No. But you can look at that, but yet it's like, I can appreciate
Yes.
the female form, and what little you have covering it. I can appreciate that, but that's my babe.
Yeah. Right here.
And she gets that too, because she's been with me for 44 years. And she's going, "You're never going to stop
You
looking."
can't
are
not
you?
look away.
How can you not look at that? I mean, it's just hanging there, you know. If she didn't want me to look, she wouldn't dress like that, you know?
Right.
And then they're going, "Oh, that's because you're old and sexist."
Right. Well, you're
No,
a
it's
terrible
'cause I'm
person.
male.
You're a bigot. Yeah.
I'm a male. I'm not a misogynist. I'm a male.
I like boobs.
Yes,
then.
right. I'm a boob
So do
guy,
you.
okay? What's wrong?
Everybody likes boobs. Women like boobs too.
Yes.
So you're retired, so nobody needs to look you up for Tooth Zone. But if people want to look up the Blues Dogs or Mr. Smith,
bluesdogsband.com. Anybody just wants to hang out and have a beer. Kent Obermann, Kent Obi, KENTOBE at Comcast.net.
oh, there you go.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah, you're cool.
again, Deb's like,
No hot chicks
no,
unless
no.
you're willing for Deb to be there too.
Well, I actually won't go out with hot chicks. No, I'm kind of like Mike Pence in that I've learned that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh my God, head of respite.
Mr. Smith. Oh.
Head of respite care.
Well, it was.
Leanne Massey.
Oh yeah, Leanne.
Leanne's been a friend of mine for
Cool.
for 40 years.
Yeah.
And we were out having lunch one time, and she said, and someone said, "Why is he? You should just put him on your board." And she said, "I don't want him on the board because he can be honest with me if he's not on the board." So that's what. Don't come out. Don't call me. Don't go to lunch with me if you don't want to be busted in the chops. Because
Front stabber.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I think. If you don't like it, don't come out with lunch with me anymore.
Okay.
I don't care.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, kid.
Thank you for listening to this episode. This is Alma Ferrer, producer of the Loco Experience podcast. If you enjoyed this program and would like to support the show, please share it with your favorite people and leave us a review. To see upcoming guests, behind-the-scenes footage, and more, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at The Loco Experience. Subscribe to never miss the latest interview, and until next time, stay loco.